So today we are going to learn how to create a basic Spring Boot application from scratch. The most basic way to create a Spring Boot application is to navigate to the tool that Spring Boot project created it for us, and it's basically a web page. That web page will be a simple web page. We can choose several options, as we will see later on. Several options, those options that can customize your application, and also you can building or adding some packages to your application. So let's get started. So the first step is to go to a web browser and navigate to this URL, which is start.spring.io. This tool is the tool that provided by Spring project. You can create your project from here, and you can add, as I said, your dependencies to your project. So let's get started to create our first Spring Boot application. There are several options in this page. Actually, I'm not quite sure if everyone is familiar with those two things, Maven or Gradle. If you are not familiar with those two things, I suggest to go search for them for a little bit, maybe, so you better know what those two things, Maven and Gradle, do for you. For me, I prefer to use Gradle over Maven because Gradle is the new age of these applications or of dependency management for your project. So first of all, I will choose Gradle. The second one is to choose your preferred language. Is it Java, Kotlin, or Groovy? Actually, I'm using Java, so I will leave it as the default value. The second one, or the third one, it's the Spring Boot version. Actually, let's just keep this for using the default values. The second one is to give a group to your application. The group basically means your company, or let's say your company domain. So it may start with org, with com. It's actually depending on your company, or the company you are working for, or the place you are working for. So for me, my domain is dev.yafatech. The artifact is your application name. So for now, because we are building a basic application, basic Spring Boot application, so I'm going to call this one Spring Boot demo, and we can just keep everything else as default values. There's several options inside here, but we will talk about those later. So for now, we can just check which dependency management we are going to use, our preferred language, Spring Boot version, our group ID, and our application name. So the most important part, guys, in this one is the dependencies part. Every Spring Boot application relies on multiple dependencies. Like if you want to connect to a database, you need to add some dependencies to make your Spring Boot application works with databases. If you want to secure your application, you need to add some dependencies to secure your application. There's actually a lot of dependencies in here. Those dependencies actually relates on what your application do. So for now, for the most basic Spring Boot application, we are going to search for something called Spring Web. The Spring Web, these can make your application run as a web application. تمام? So we will choose Spring Web, and that's it. If there's an extra dependencies, for your project. As I said, if your project is going to connect to a database like MySQL, is it going to be secured? Is it going to use some external databases or another type of databases like Oracle database? So we can choose the name of our dependency in here, like security. Spring Security is something used for security. So the most basic application will be will using the following configuration. So we can just hit the generate button, and it's just going to download some application or a file, sorry. We can just extract the file, and the next step is going to your preferred IDE. For me, I'm using IntelliJ. Of course, you can use Spring IDE, you can use Eclipse, you can use NetBeans. Actually, it's up to you, but I suggest to use IntelliJ. IntelliJ is a good tool, modern tool. It can make you more productive, and it will make programming kind of fun and easier for you. So let's go to IntelliJ, hit the open button, just navigate to your folder. Inside your folder, you should look for the folder name or the zip file we actually downloaded, and after unzip the folder, we should find the name. After we find the name, we should click on build.gradle. Actually, it may be a, a Maven project, so you should select bomb.xml. It's for Gradle, for Maven, but because I use Gradle, my dependencies manager is Gradle, so I'm going to choose build.gradle. Open as project. We should wait a little bit until the application is loaded. It will take several seconds, or maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes. It's actually depending on your internet connection. So here's it. This is the most basic Spring Boot application. So if you run this application, okay, we'll talk about this later. This port is just a random number just to make the application works, because I'm using something else, using the default port of the default port of Spring Boot, which is 8080. So we can navigate to our application by typing localhost and the port number, and here we go. This is our application. Actually, we can ignore this message, because this message just telling you that there's nothing to map or there's nothing to open, because this is the basic application. We don't have anything yet in there, so this is the normal behavior of default Spring Boot application. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. We will talk a little bit more about Spring Boot applications in the next video. Bye bye.